It always freezes right as it starts. Hi, welcome to Witchful Thinking. I'm Brianna. We got Autumn and Nyx here. I know y'all haven't heard from me in a couple of weeks. I am finally not dying.
Thankfully.
Oh yeah, that was awful, by the way. I don't know if y'all can.
We've missed you, man. We've missed you.
You can probably hear my voice still sounds like I'm dying. I'm better though. I am better. I did have to push my tattoo off though, and that was sad.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm checking.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Come in and...
All right, so today our topic is Hades and Persephone, the king and queen of the underworld for the Greek pantheon. Okay, so you guys were here when last week. You want to go ahead and kick us off because I don't actually know what to catch us up on.
I mean, there's not really much to catch up on.
Not a lot to catch up on.
You go, Autumn. You go. I'm sorry.
You want me to go? Okay. Well, I don't know. Last week we were a little chaotic. We were talking about Hecate and Nyx and how we work with them. And got a little chaotic. I think we were talking about how we were going to try and rename ourselves to the Feral Street Cats.
Oh yeah, I got a text. I got a text that said I was a skunk. I was like, what the hell? All I could think of was Pepe Le Pew.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
I think Loki 100% inserted himself into that podcast.
Oh my goodness, when doesn't he? All right, so did y'all have like specific lineup, or are we just going to talk about who they are or how we work with them? What's the plan?
I think we just talk about who they are, what they represent, and how we work with them.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, whoever Astrid is, she just told me don't let your past hold you back. We were talking before the podcast started. I got a new oracle deck, and as soon as I opened it, the name Astrid popped in my head. They let me know that is a Norse goddess, so I got to do some research, apparently. King and queen of the underworld, Lord Hades, Lady Persephone, they are wonderful deities, although in their history have been silently... like the kind of you didn't talk about them because you don't talk about death unless you want it to come. That's not so much the case anymore. They're pretty popular now, especially with all of the literature written about their story. Yeah,
some of the stuff written about their story is so beautiful.
Huh?
Some of their some of the recreations of their stories are just so beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. There are some that are really good. There are some that are very, very spicy.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of one right now.
I have not found any spicy books yet, so.
Shout out to Scarlett St. Clair, who writes Game of and Touch of books. So the first one being A Touch of Darkness. Yeah, shout out to her for her spicy retellings of Hades and Persephone.
I gotta look on my Kindle. I read it a couple years ago.
I also like the Neon Gods. That's a good one too.
That's a good series.
Yeah. So Katie Robert, shout out to that author as well. If you like spicy books, I got some recommendations for you.
I'll pick you up on that often.
Yeah, I got lots of them. Just let me know. Most of my spicy books are God story retellings too, because I like retellings of mythologies.
I do too, man. I do too.
I cannot remember the name of it, but I know there's one, and now I'm gonna try and find it.
What's it called? Or you don't know what it's called? What's it about? Is it about Hades?
Yes.
It's about Hades and Persephone.
Yes.
Another one called Dark Olympus.
There's one called Persephone Hades Torment. That one is
the Maiden
raunchy.
And the Unseen.
Ooh, that sounds cool. You'll have to share that with me. Share that link.
I will.
Okay.
It's a series.
Okay. Good to know.
It's really good.
If you buy them all at one time, you only bought one book.
Exactly.
It's on Kindle Unlimited though, so it's free.
I don't have Kindle.
Okay, I need to get a Kindle.
Listen,
I
I
have
have this weird thing where I don't like reading ebooks.
That's fair.
I don't know why. I just need to have the book in my hand.
No,
it
that's valid.
depends for me. I can go back and forth. With the March series, I had to have the book in my hand. However, there was
Oh
another series
God,
that
I haven't read those
March
since high
high
school.
school. I've got them on my bookshelf.
I
I
think
do
I sold
too.
them to a teenager. Pretty sure I sold them to a teenager. I don't have them anymore.
I I still have all. I'm still collecting because there's more that I have to get, but I have a bunch in my cart that I'm gonna get. But
See, with
I'm
the Marked series, my issue with the Marked series was that by the time it got to 17 books, I was like, no, I'm done. There's too many. Because she kept going after that. I had 17 books on my shelf and there were more, and I was like, no, I'm done.
Yeah, I think it. Yeah, yeah. I got like the last one, and I was like, they're like, "Oh, we're done." I was like, "Oh, good," because I don't think I can get in the. I don't think I got the space for it.
Yeah, by book 17, because what is there? There's like 23 or something something like that.
I don't even know. I only have a couple of them. I have like maybe seven. I'm still working on
No,
getting more, but I'm planning on
I
having a
remember.
library in my house with over 1,000 books. So I think I'll be good.
I remember
Well, there's
having.
only like 13 books.
There's 13. Okay, maybe it was 7 books that I had then, and then I don't remember. I just remember I had a stack of them, and I was like, I am done.
Now the Vampire Academy.
I didn't read those.
Those ones. Oh,
I did read Fallen. Did you read those ones?
Oh,
the
yeah.
Lord and
Those were
Cold.
good. Those were good. And you know what? I would even go back and reread them as an adult.
I
Yeah.
just bought Torment like a month ago. I read
Really?
this
How we
complete.
started
Yes,
talking about Hades and Persephone.
Now we're talking about books. My bad. Okay.
So back to
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like
Do we
I
want to
want to
start with their story? Just like who they are?
well, that's what I was gonna say. Like their story is one I feel like that has inspired so many books.
Yeah, they have
And so
a very famous story. But like it's also one of those stories that you don't know what the true story is because there's the original myth where it was a kidnapping, and then there's like the modern version where no, she went willingly. And so like
mhm.
it's a complicated story that has a lot of layers to it for sure.
Well, I
Cuz
think the biggest thing is like you have historians that have, also said that that back then kidnapping was really like it's not necessarily kidnapping, it was the way that they kind of presented the bride to
mhm.
the groom.
Yeah.
And in a sense, you kind of I don't know, like I feel like working with them,
I definitely think working when you work with them, you definitely see like it's you see the marriage for what it is now.
yeah.
Cause I mean, I don't know about you guys, but whenever Hades is around, he's really just saying, do whatever Persephone tells you to do.
He's definitely a dad.
He's definitely a dad.
Where he's like, "What did your mom say?"
Yes. Yeah. He,
And like
and
she
when,
runs
go
she
ahead.
definitely runs the like when
Yeah.
I like whenever I work with them, which I do. It's funny because like they're like my a lot of people, they're always like Daddy Hades, and they're always romanticizing him, and to me I'm always like, "What? That's my
The,
dad." Like
right.
you know what I mean? I'm like
I like reading those stories,
I
but
like
in
reading them, but then I'm like, "Ugh, that's my dad." Like
see, for me though, like when I'm reading them, I'm not reading them as this is Hades and Persephone. I'm reading them
right
as these are characters in a book.
book, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas like
Yeah.
when I'm when people are like romanticizing them, I'm like, I'm like, I'm sorry, but that's my father.
Yeah.
Like, can we? That's gross. And
Yeah.
which is
I
really
agree.
funny because like I can't remember. I was watching a video and it was I was doing some work and they were like, "Oh yeah, like Hades is so like hot, blah blah blah." And I was like, ugh. And and all I hear is Persephone going, "Don't say that about your dad." I'm like, "That's gross. Why would I say that my dad is hot?" And I'm like, ugh. And he goes, "Give me," and I just hear in the background going, "Give me some street cred." I was like, nobody says street cred anymore.
Oh
And
my goodness.
and I just like hear him like laughing in the background, but I'm just like, this is gross. That's my dad. That's disgusting.
Yeah. For me when they're around, like when it's just Hades around, he's very like very relaxed, and he kind of brings me kind of like a calm that I don't feel a lot of times. So he kind of brings me down, more mellow when it's just him. But when it's Persephone, when I have Persephone around, usually Hades is there just in the background kind of saying do whatever she says. So like I feel like whenever Persephone's around, he's always there, but he's just kind of in the background saying, I'm just here because she told me to be here."
Mm-hmm.
And usually when Persephone's around, it's more of a hype vibe. She usually wants me to get in my boss ass bitch era.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
I agree.
so like when it yeah. So when it comes to the two of them together, like it's definitely Persephone that I feel presence from most. When it's just Hades, it's a very different vibe. It's very relaxed. And I don't know that I mean, I definitely have the relationship with them where I feel like never would I say daddy Hades cuz that's weird. Um
Right.
right. I don't
It's
know
something that just
necessarily.
makes me cringe. I'm like,
Yeah. Like I said, when I'm reading it in a book, they aren't Hades and Persephone. They are characters
yeah.
called Hades and Persephone. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't read them as the actual god and goddess.
Mm-hmm.
Um like and that's the same, that's true with any of my spicy books. I don't read them as the actual deities. I read them as characters because that's what they are.
Yeah.
Um I I mean, that's not to say that maybe they do have a spicy relationship. I don't know. I
I don't want
don't
to think
feel
about
like
that.
I don't yeah, it's
I
not
don't
my
want to think
business.
about that either.
I don't necessarily have the same like that's my father kind of relationship with him. It's like I'm not as grossed out by it necessarily as I'm just like it's not something I would think about. Like it's not
Well,
something that I in is
so
in my
when I started working with them, because he's the god of like wealth,
right.
and
Yeah, I think that's
so
something to note too is that a lot of people only see him as the king of the dead, the god of the underworld. He's not just that. He is the god of wealth, the god of riches, the god of gems,
mhm. So
and
like
some
a
other
lot of
stuff.
times when I work with them, I mean, I because Persephone's goddess is rain, and so when I do have both of them on my shelf with the underworld deities, but when I work with them, I kind of focus on the luxury aspect of it. So
Right,
like
yeah.
when I'm cleaning, when I'm in that mindset of like, okay, how do I don't really consider myself like a luxurious person.
Hmm.
I like I'm more of a cabin in the woods kind of person.
Hmm.
But like luxury I guess is a state of mind.
Yeah.
So when I think of that, I kind of think of like when I see crystals or I see rocks. Like,
Yay. I
yeah,
love
like those,
crystals.
that's right. Like, that was a form of currency at one point. And so,
Right.
luxury for me is, you know, um, when I'm in peace or when I'm giving myself like a spa day of some sort, or when I'm in that mindset. And that's something that both he and Persephone, when I work with them, are always like, when's the last time you've had a spa day? And a lot of times, to piggyback off of that,
Mm.
Aphrodite will chime in and she'll be like, "Oh yeah, when's the last day? When's the last time you did some self love exercises?"
I get that
And
a lot
she'll,
from Hecate. She's like, "When's the last time you took care of yourself?"
yeah,
And then Hermes shows up, and he's like, "Yeah, take a bubble bath, bitch."
yeah,
Hermes is a vibe, but that's a different episode. But yeah, I mean, I get that. I definitely get that. For me, when I work with them, I don't really focus on the wealth or the luxury aspect so much, because I guess part of me like doesn't think about like I deserve that. I know I do, but like it's not when you're like, to give you some background, like I'm a teacher, I'm a mother, I'm in a roller derby team. Like I don't really feel like I ever have time for that stop and take care of me. Um I mean,
yeah. See, this is when
roller derby
Hecate's
is
about to
kind of
come
my
out.
way to, huh?
This is when Hecate's about to come out and be like, bitch."
Yeah, she did just
Next
yell at me before we
time.
started. She did just yell at me before we started and said, "Stop trying to do shit by myself." But to be fair, roller derby is kind of it. It did kind of become something that I started doing for myself because I wasn't doing things for myself.
Yeah, but I don't know that you can really take care of yourself if you're rolling around on rollerblades,
Not
knocking
rollerblades.
people
I'm on quads, thank you.
quads. Okay. Anyways, I don't know that you can really take care of yourself if the whole premise of roller derby is to
Is to
knock
beat the
people
shit
over
out of.
and to
Uh,
beat the shit out of each other.
Your inner
I mean,
Aphrodite
it's
don't get
coming
me
out.
wrong, it's quite therapeutic. But
it's a
like,
different kind of self care.
yeah, like I'm
It's a
an
different kind of self
archaeologist,
care.
right? Like I'm an archaeologist. I'm out in the woods all day long, right?
Right.
Love my job. I get to go dig in the dirt for a living. I get to go
See,
look at
for
rocks.
me, for me, roller derby, because I get to beat the shit out of people, it's a way to release my aggression in a healthy and safe manner.
Right.
I do that through
So
writing.
it's a different type of self-care. I definitely still need to be taking care of myself physically. Um
Mm-hmm.
and I need to, talk to my therapist for some of those aggressive issues.
Mm-hmm.
But roller
Take
derby
a
is
bubble bath.
definitely take a bubble bath, as Hermes would say.
Uh huh.
I don't really care for bubble baths as part of it. Like it's
Well,
a
you don't
different
have to
kind.
do a bubble bath.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's just different. But for me, like I said, the luxury aspect isn't really something I focus with them, but I do definitely focus on like the like rebirth aspect of Persephone, like because she's the goddess of
Mm-hmm.
spring, she is also like the goddess of rebirth and the goddess of growth. So like for me it's more along the lines of like growing myself as a person, and then the rebirth aspect of like I know that like parts of me aren't aren't part of me anymore. Like I I was a dancer and a musician and a vocalist for years, all the way through college. Those are parts of me that have kind of fallen away because as you grow, you don't stick to the same things. But they don't change, or they've like molded me into who I am and allow me to bring like they allowed me to meet my husband, which allowed me to have my son. So it's like a growth from something that is no longer a part of my life. So that's where I focus with them a lot more. Also, I kind of bring them into um I also work with them a lot when it comes to like um deceased family members, because they are king and queen of the underworld and the dead. And so whenever, like, for example, my grandfather passed away a couple of weeks ago right before I got sick. Um and so like part of my process of dealing with that death was to take something of his and put it with them, to say thank you for taking care of him in the afterlife.
Right. That's really sweet.
And the same is true for like my children. I bring them into my children a lot, like my deceased children. I ask them to care for my children a lot.
I like to I need to start doing it more. It's just there's not a lot of space here. But like
Hmm.
I have a lot of fake plants and flowers, mostly because my cats.
Yeah, when you have pets, it's really hard to keep living plants inside. That's why my
Yeah.
garden is outside.
But I have like I do try to keep plants or like fake plants around for her because I
Hmm.
do want to honor that for her because I like having those in and around. Um, and I'll like it's like I try to change them with the season too because I feel like having that aspect and having the plant aspect in my home, and I
Hmm.
feel like just having that there for her and changing it with the season, in regards, or not in regards, but like in respect for her,
Hmm.
just so that she feels like she's not being, or that she's,
Just,
yeah,
yeah, just lumped
but
with the underworld, like reminding her that we know that she is
yeah,
the goddess of spring as well. Yeah. That
yeah,
was why I started my garden in the first place, was for her.
because I just feel like I don't want her to feel like she's just limited to that because she's not. Like she's not just limited to being
She's
the
not.
goddess of spring. She's also overseeing like the Elysian field, and I that is also why I
Hmm.
have those and change them because, um, I work with Macaria, who's the goddess of gentle death, and
Hmm.
which is one of their children or their daughters, and I kind of
Is
I
that how
really
you
like
say that? I never knew how to say that.
Macaria.
Yeah. I've never knew how to say it.
Yeah, um,
Yeah.
because with having my four that I lost, I really
Hmm.
kind of lean heavily with them, and I'm always kind of working with Macaria the most because I'm always like I hope that it was a gentle
Yeah.
passing and moving, and that's kind of like there's different ways. I think more so with like when I work with just Hades, it's in that because like I feel like growing up, I my childhood into now. I mean, I am not an archaeologist for the money. I can tell you that much right now.
I got you.
I,
I'm a
yeah,
I'm a teacher. I understand.
I'm not in my field for the money. Just putting that
No,
out there
no.
right now.
I get it. I
I
do.
love my job, but no, I think it's more that I like I don't know. I think it's more so focusing on um being like, I'm wealthy in the mindset of I have a really loving family, I have a good support system, I have a roof
Yeah.
over my head, I've got so being in that like abundant
Different kind of
mindset.
wealth, not a
Yeah.
financial wealth. I
And
completely understand that.
that like working with him in that mindset.
Hmm.
And
I
then
completely understand that.
and like he kind of helps me with that because sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know, like, do I really deserve this? Do like all that kind of stuff. And then he's kind of that gentle reminder of like, well, he's like, you have, he's like, look at the family you have, look at this, like
Hmm.
you do deserve that. And he kind of is like that gentle but firm that like, and what I mean by father figure is that he's like that dad that's like, no, like you do deserve that,
I get
and
that.
then when I work with Persephone, like you were saying, that constant evolution and that
Hmm.
rebirth, and going back and looking because I feel like you do mourn yourself. You do mourn those past versions of yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Especially
working,
as you get older. Nyx, you're still pretty young, but it gets to be more frequent as you get older.
I just,
I
I was
I'm
just the other
I'm finding
day.
out slowly as I'm regaining memories from my past, and it's keeping me up at night. Because some
And
of it's
that's
good and some of it's bad.
and that's something that working with Persephone has definitely like helped me to accept. Like I know I will probably never do a dance performance ever again. And you know what? that made me sad for a while, because for a long time that was who I was. Like I was a dancer, and that was me. Like, so it took a long time to accept that that's not me anymore.
Yeah, I was actually talking to some coworkers the other day because we were talking about something. We got on the topic of hockey, and then I was talking about figure skating and how like I was doing some Olympic shows, and I was, my goal was to become an Olympic figure skater. And they were like, "Oh, well, do you still figure skate?" And I was like, "Well, no. Like I've had 3 knee surgeries, and I'm at the point now where I might actually have to have like knee replacement surgery." And so I don't know that I could do half the things that I could do anymore. And there's like this like really sad reality that half of those things that I used to do are no longer things that I could do, because it was such a big part of my identity when I was younger. I did figure skating, I did volleyball, I was a cheerleader, I did all these things, and now I'm an archaeologist. But there's so many new things to my aspect now. Like, here I am on a podcast with you and Bree, and like never thought I would be doing a podcast. And I don't know where Bree went.
I
She must have
think your
lost
laptop
connection.
died, or
I
yeah,
think
that's
so,
true.
yeah.
With my thing, I didn't do any cool things other than band and choir and write. That's all I've done. And I was going to school to be either a college professor or something to do with English and literature, because that's always been my passion. And here I am. I'm just an author.
Yeah, but you've done so much, and you still, but what we're trying to say is you still have so much time, right? Like, that's the whole point of about like this change in this rebirth is like you have so much time, and there's nothing wrong with like, changing and doing all these things, and becoming a new person, or like, because, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with, you know, becoming a, you know, oh, I don't know where Brie is. I think, oh no. But there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's not a competition. It's not a race. It's like your life is your life. It's just like Bree's life is Bree's life. My life is my life. And like, there's no competition. There's no like set, limitations. There's no restrictions. There's no like you have to do A, B, and C by this age and this time frame. You know what I mean? Like, there's no hard limits. It's you do what you need to do. And like the whole point of working with Persephone is understanding that there's beauty in each, like no one flower blooms the same, and no one flower, like, no, we can't see or hear you, Bree. It's saying that it's not displaying this camera mic. So like there's, you know what I mean? So it's like, take your time, let yourself blossom. That's the whole point of working with Persephone, is to know that like there is beauty in that whole process. And that's how it was for me. And once Brie logs in, I mean, she can tell you the same thing as well. But like, take your time, figure it out. There's no rush either. Like, don't rush it. And I'm so excited for your book because it's out
I
now,
don't,
isn't it?
huh?
Your book's
I didn't
out
hear
now,
you.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is. The first
There
the
you
first
are.
book of the series is out.
You all can see me?
Yes.
Can you
It's
hear me?
Yes.
we can hear you.
Yes.
It's a black screen for me, but it might load in just a moment. My phone's a little slow. It has my
I can
brain
see
Autumn,
you.
can you
capacity
see me?
sometimes.
Yes.
All right, cool. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah. But like, there's no like, it's you're still young, and like, and I used to hate when people say
Mm-hmm.
that to me. Like, I'm not gonna lie. When I was younger, I was like, oh no, don't say that to me. But now I'm like, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
You don't realize how young you are until you're older, and then you're like, oh, I was really young.
Like I was before I moved here, I was working at the rock gym, and the kids there were like 19 to 21 years old, and they were like talking about stuff, and the things that they were saying, and I'm in my head, I'm sitting there going like, I'm like, I can't relate. I really cannot. And like they're saying stuff, and in my head, I'm like, I've got to call my mother and apologize because my God, I, if that is how I sounded at that age, I need to apologize right now to her because it's
I sorry, continue.
no, you're good. It was bad.
Yeah.
I
I used to, when I was like 24, 23, 24, I used to hate being told I was young. No, I'm not young. I'm grown.
Yeah,
No, I wasn't grown.
yeah,
I wasn't grown. I'm still not grown, and I have a
no.
kid.
I'm like, God, I'm like, I was sitting there, I'm like, I'm an adult, and now I'm 30. I'm like, I'm like, people are like, you're an adult. I was like,
I'm a fake adult.
I was like,
I'm a pretend adult. I need
yeah,
a real adult to tell me what
I
to
know.
do.
I'm like, are you sure about that? And they're like, Autumn, you're an adult. I was like, are you sure? Whose decision was that? And they're like,
Right. Who let me become an adult? Who let
are
me
you
procreate?
sure?
That's my favorite one. Who let me procreate?
I
That's
can't
a
use
good
that.
one.
So
That's my favorite one is who said that I was grown enough to make another human being?
I can't use that decision. I can't use that. So you know.
It well, when and if you ever
Yeah.
can, it is definitely like my mom is like, you need to learn how to cook. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Did you just tell me that you don't love me anymore? And she's like, no, I told you have a child and you have to provide for your child. And I'm like, but who gave me permission to make another human being?
Yeah.
Who said that I was grown enough for that? Because it wasn't me. For the record, though, I do take very good care of my child. I don't want people to think that I'm a terrible mother.
Oh no, you're a wonderful mother, man. You're a wonderful mother.
I work hard.
It just be hard.
You definitely you work very hard.
It just be hard. And you know what? Speaking of my son, actually, he is the reason that I work with Hades and Persephone.
No.
Because
Oh,
I
yeah, do you want
didn't
to talk about
until. Yeah, sure. So, like, it was like, what, a month after he was born? I started feeling this presence, and it was like, it was a calming presence. I wasn't intimidated. I wasn't scared. It was just, it was somebody or something was there. And I was like, I don't know what's going on, but like there's this new presence in my house and I don't know, but the presence is very, very strong around my child. And so I like did some meditating and some thinking, and so I had some people do some readings for me and figured out it was Hades. And Hades liked my son, and he was
Oh,
just coming around to make sure that Zayden was okay. And I feel like I honestly believe that that is because of the fact that he has four of my other children in the underworld with him. And I definitely believe that he came to watch over Zayden when he was young because he knew how much pain losing my other four children was. So he came to kind of make sure that Zayden was okay. And by no means, for anybody who ever does have a child and they feel a presence around their child, as long as it's a safe presence. If you feel a benevolent presence, definitely do something. But if you feel like a safe presence, don't ever feel like that means that you have to dedicate your child to that god or goddess or deity or spirit. That's not what that means. But so Hades had started coming around to keep an eye on Zayden, and as he was around, I kind of started feeling comforted by him too. I felt like I felt like he started kind of watching over me as well. While he was still mostly there for Zayden, he started kind of comforting me and watching over me. And so I started working with Hades, and and asking him like, not out. I know I never like outright said like, how are my children doing with you, but like kind of asking for hints that he had my children with him, and he basically had sent me um vibes, emotions, whispers, however you interpret, um but basically let me know like my children are safe and he's taking care of them, and that Zayden was sent to me as a gift, and like as a basically like I had this like feeling that like my other four children had an influence on sending Zayden to me. Um, and it was really beautiful to know that, and it was really heartwarming and calming to have his presence around, especially because in the beginning of my experience of new motherhood, I like the first month was beautiful, and then after like between 2 months and like 6 months I had a lot of postpartum depression. The first month you're still in that, oh my god, my beautiful baby stage, and you still have a lot of people around to help. But once everybody starts disappearing, you start doing things by yourself again, and then you realize just how hard motherhood is. Not to say that it's not still beautiful, but if you have ever experienced any form of postpartum depression, or even just have had children, you know what I mean when I say like those early months right after everybody leaves you and you start taking care of everything yourself. And at that point, my husband had gone back to work as well. I started to really feel like I wasn't good enough as a mother. I wasn't able to take, especially because I had a hard time when it came to breastfeeding. I didn't find the joy and the beauty of breastfeeding like a lot of mothers do, and I felt like I was a bad mom for that. And so having Hades there kind of helped me to remember like breast isn't best, fed is best. Like it doesn't matter how your child gets fed as long as he's being fed. If you can't do breastfed, and part of my problem with breastfeeding was that I didn't produce enough. I was barely producing enough to feed him. So that impacted like how I felt about breastfeeding for sure. And my son still to this day always wants to eat. So I was barely producing enough milk to feed him enough, and that child wanted to eat all day. So I was having a lot of problems with postpartum depression, and Hades was around, and he kind of brought a calm to me that was like reminding me like, you're doing what you can, and you are a good mother,
Did I lose you
and
guys?
your children on my side are, I want you to know too that you're a good mother, and they know that even if they had been with you, you would be a good mother to them, and you are a good mother to Zayden. And so that definitely helped in my early motherhood experience, and like allowed me to accept that I needed to bottle feed. It allowed me to accept that like my house isn't going to be clean, and that's okay. um, it allowed me to accept a lot of the things that I was having a difficult time accepting, because I had this impression of who I was supposed to be as a mom, and he helped me work through that. And after working with Hades for 6 or 7 months, I think, that's when Persephone came along, and she was like, listen, you've been working with my husband and you've shown a lot of dedication. Because Persephone is very picky about who she works with. Because I had asked Persephone a couple of years before this if I could work with her, and she told me no. She's like, you're not ready to work with me, no. But after working with Hades through my son, she came back and she was like, you've shown a lot of dedication to Hecate, you've shown a lot of dedication to my husband, and I see that you need a boost in your womanhood now. Like, you need to remember that you are a boss bitch. And so that's how she came into my practice, was like, okay, my husband has helped you to know that you're a good mother. Now I need you to know that you're a good woman. And so that's how I came to work with both of them.
I always get emotional when you talk about working with them because it's such a. I was trying not to
It's
cry.
such
I
a
was listening, but I always. It's just a. Because
it's such a story.
yeah, but
It's a beautiful story.
it's very beautiful, and I just, because we were, I mean, we were there that whole time with you, and it was just,
Yes, you guys were there through all of that with me.
and that was a very, it was a very
It
hard,
was very hard.
yeah,
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You guys saw me through 3 out of the 4 of my losses, um and you guys definitely were a support system that I needed, because I didn't I don't have a lot of people that I hang out with face to face. I have my family that I spend a lot of time with, but I don't go out with a lot of friends. Like, I have work friends, but like, you guys definitely were a support system that I didn't feel like I had here. And that made a huge difference in my journey through all of that too. And of course, my husband and my family, of course, made a big difference. But sometimes you need somebody who's not family to help you with those things.
well, and a lot of it is like, you know, it just kind of, working with them, you kind of have, it's that grief, right? Like working through that
Yes.
grief, and I feel like a lot of people try to shy away from grief, and a
Hmm.
lot of working with the underworld deities that people don't really seem to grasp, or hold on a second, Rhea, what are you doing? Sorry, she's wandering. What are you doing? Um, a lot of things that like people don't seem to fully under like grasp with working with them is grief. You kind of have to like
Hmm.
process that, and
There's a lot of shadow work involved.
exactly, and that
Yeah.
is a big thing that both of them will push through, and that kind of
Yeah.
wraps in with like working with Hikate and Nyx as well, and with them is
Hmm.
they'll have you work on that, because you're never not going to be working and doing shadow work. You are always going to be looking at some form of it, because in rebirth, shadow work is going to be there. You're going to have to peel
Yeah.
back some of those. I mean, just like we were, like I was telling you, Nyx, like when a flower, in order for a flower to, or a plant to grow, sometimes you have to repot a plant, right? You've got to pull it out. You may have to, you know, shake the roots a little bit. You may have to trim back some of those roots that are rotting. You may have to trim back some of the leaves, or maybe it's, you have to propagate. You may have to shed and pull off some of it because it's getting too big for the pot that it's in. So it's like
Yeah.
there's always some aspect of you might be outgrowing a situation that you're in. You have to put yourself in a new position where you are, you know, you're now this little plant in a big pot, right? But it gives you more room to grow. And so it's with each aspect, you're always going to be growing, so there's more work to do. Or maybe you're staying in the same pot because you still have a little bit of room to grow, but you're shedding. You're, you know, you have leaves that might be falling off because there's a part of you that's sick and you have to get rid of it. And you know, there's a root that's rotting, so you have to cut it off. And so it's just, there's always work that has to be done, and that's an essential part of working with, you know, I feel like with Persephone, a lot of what I've had to do with her is, you know, it's hard, but she's, you know, like there's been times where she's like, you've got to cut this person off.
Yes. Same.
She's not,
She.
this
She.
person's not healthy for you. This or that person isn't
Same.
good. This situation's not good. And like she's, that's why I always refer to them as like a mom and dad, right? Because you've got
Hmm.
Hades there who's like, hey, remember, you got to be grateful for this situation. Be grateful for the things that you have in your life. Know that you always are going to be surrounded, supported, and cared for. You're very, you know, abundant in this circumstance. But then you have Persephone who comes in and she's like, look, you're doing great. I'm very proud of you. But you have got to cut this off, or you're going to make yourself sick and you're not going to be able to grow. Or, hey, you need to pull yourself out of this environment so you can grow. Or, hey, you need to cut this person off and take yourself out of this situation so you can grow and become a better person. And like
Yeah.
there's such a good dynamic duo. Like they're great by themselves, but like
Mm-hmm.
working with them together is such they're such a solid unit. And
For I agree completely.
yeah, and like and then to add in the factor of like knowing that they're caring for like our children is such a beautiful thing, because I know that they're just going to be cared for, and that at any time that we need to see them or they have messages for us, it's like it's such a beautiful thing to know too. So it's like it's just a beautiful relationship, and it's such a I love working with them.
I do too. It's a very nurturing relationship to have with them. And I think it's definitely, if you're somebody who's interested in working with them, know that there is a lot of shadow work. There is a lot of it takes a lot of hard work. Um, just like with Hecate and Nyx, um, Hades and Persephone, they require you to work hard, and they require you to push yourself and face the parts of yourself that you're not necessarily ready to face. Um, but in doing so, you get to learn so much about yourself, and you get to grow, and you, you get to like see this person that you have the potential to be, and then work toward being that person. And it's not like a quick overnight, okay, I'm better now. It's an ongoing process, just like with any kind of working through any kind of trauma or working through any kind of difficult thing. It's a process. It doesn't just happen overnight, but in doing so, you come out the other side, and you are healed, and you are healthy, and now, like, by working with them, you have these two wonderful deities who are ready to support you and ready to push you and to do great things. And yeah, unfortunately, a lot of us do come to them through grief, but but grief is a process, and they help us through it. There are people who come to them without the grief, and that's awesome for those people who do, but a lot of us do come to them through grief.
I was gonna say, next, do you wanna?
Yeah, Nix, you've been really quiet.
Yeah.
I've just been listening to y'all. Um, because I don't really, I kind of work with Persephone in actually listening to y'all stories. I so I thought I was only working with Persephone with just plants because I have a hard time keeping plants alive because I'm very bad with self care. um,
Try something simple like a succulent. Start there.
Yeah.
I killed them.
You killed the succulents? Don't water them.
Yeah.
You water them like once a month.
Yeah.
I do, and they still die. The only thing I kept alive is the cactus on Loki's altar.
Okay.
It's very bad. I have a feeling the cat plays in with it a lot too because she is known to destroy
Uh,
my plants because she destroyed the one that was on Nyx's altar by eating it. And
be careful with that, because a lot of plants are poisonous to animals.
yeah, it didn't even get a chance to bloom. But she's
Right.
also still here, so I guess it wasn't poisonous. I was already
There you go.
panicking when it happened, so because when
Oh
I came
no.
home it was gone. I was like, "You
Oh no.
child!"
I have them up high.
It is,
They're up here.
my cat jumps anywhere, anywhere and everywhere.
Aluminum foil. If you
I
take
tried
aluminum
that.
Yeah,
I
foil
true.
and
I've
put it.
tried that.
Oh.
I have tried.
Okay,
I've tried peppermint. I've tried lemon. I have tried aluminum foil. I've tried tape on this damn cat, and she's like, "No, I do what I want." I've tried
oh,
spraying her with water. I have to have a Nerf gun that shoots the little balls just so she doesn't
oh.
do anything.
Could you plant things outside? Because like my garden is outside.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I live in an apartment complex. I mean, I'm on the first floor, and I do have a
Uh,
bit of a patio. I just have to set up my own little trough back there, and
Gotcha.
I don't
mm.
have the funds to do that.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'll get there eventually. I do eventually want to get plants again, but that's one of the main reasons why I started working with Persephone is with plants. I have a feeling that she was secretly working on other things with me.
Mm. Yeah, she's very picky. I will say that. She doesn't just accept people. She has to have a reason to accept you, and she has to see a lot of dedication. But you do work with Hecate and Nyx, so I'm not like
Yeah.
so that's like a yeah.
I
But I do, like I said, I tried to ask to work with her a few years ago, and she had told me no initially, which was fair. It was still very early in my practice, and it was kind of presumptuous of me to say, "Hey, can I come work with you?" Because, like, I wasn't ready for that shit. Um, but she is very picky about who she chooses, um, and but when she does choose you, she pushes, and she pushes hard.
Mhm.
I have a feeling that she's trying to help me through the grief of a couple of my absolute favorite people because everyone that I have had such a strong connection with have died. My friend Destiny, who passed away back when I was a freshman, which I have her dresser now, and that wasn't
Oh
even
yeah, you told us
planned.
that.
That wasn't even planned, but it makes me very happy. I lost her. I lost my aunt that I had a really good, deep connection with. I lost her to cirrhosis of the liver when I was a senior in high school. I lost my emotional support cat, and just a couple years ago, I lost my grandmother. So all of the most important people in my life I had lost.
Yeah, yeah, she definitely, like we said a minute ago, they both definitely like show up when there's grief involved, and um, I would definitely say start doing some work around that. Like I can't tell you how to process your own grief, but I can say that like
I'm working on it
in taking
slowly but surely. I'm doing it a lot through writing, which is
good.
also how I am going through a lot of my trauma is through writing. Um,
Speaking of writing, shout out to a published author.
Yeah.
You can get her book where?
Amazon and Barnes and
What?
Noble.
Amazon and Barnes and Noble. You can buy Nyx's new book, Eclipse. What? Okay.
So proud of you.
We're
Thank
so
you.
proud.
It took a
I gotta
it took a
I
lot.
gotta cash up you.
Mm. And then I'll order the
Yeah,
book and
because
I'm gonna
I
send
expect
it.
I expect an autograph copy, so I have to
Okay.
cash app you so I can,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna buy the book and then ship it to
Oh,
you for
I was
you to
gonna
ship it back. So
yeah, I was gonna say just like cash out
I
me
was gonna I'm just gonna
entirely and
send the money to
Yeah, I'm
you.
gonna do the same thing.
But for
Send it. Yeah,
yeah
I'm gonna send the money to you so you
yeah,
can sign it and send it to me.
but for everybody else, you can get her book on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. I'm excited to read it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a multi series. You've actually met the characters already. Um,
Yeah, didn't you do them
Yeah.
in the Discord?
yeah, their backstories are just a tad bit different from in the Discord from their actual like lore and everything. So with Kiva, um, Autumn knows a little bit more about Kiva, but she and Victor, their love story is coming out. They're it's mainly her origin, and then Siriana's origin is going to come out next, and then it's going to be one that you haven't met yet. Her name is Lucille, also known as Phoenix. So hers is going to come out.
Lucille, aka Phoenix. It's a good thing we're talking about this so that when I start to read, I know how to say these names.
Uh,
You ever open a book and you're not sure how to say the name, so
Yeah.
you're guessing,
You're
and then you
like-
hear the audiobook and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, like
yep,
there's
I do that all the time.
yeah, I'm always like but see, like
It's like
I like
oh,
for me I'm like sitting there going, okay, in my mind I'm like, I'm not gonna pronounce this with an Arabic or Spanish accent because that's my go-to.
see, so like a great example is when Harry Potter came out, and like you're trying to figure out how to pronounce Hermione,
Oh,
or and
yeah.
how did I read it as? I think I read it as Hermione or something when
Mine
I
was
read it.
Hermione.
I think I said Hermione or Hermione, and then the movie came out and they were like Hermione, and I was like,
I was
no.
so wrong.
No.
I also though when I read the book, I also for some reason had a black girl in my brain,
I mean,
and then the movie came out,
a lot.
and it was and they go ahead.
You weren't alone. I was just gonna say you weren't alone. A lot of people were thinking that Hermione was in fact black just because of how she was described and like how her hair is just like it's thick and it was beautiful.
Yeah, I was imagining a black girl, but then I went back after the first movie came out. I went back and I was like, she's supposed to be black. And I went back in the book and no, she's actually described as a white girl. And I'm like, no, I read she was a black girl. Somebody changed the book.
That's like there's a couple other books that I've read. I'm trying to think. Which one was it?
Yeah, fun fact, Kiva is Irish. I'm pretty sure Autumn already picked up on that. But Kiva is Irish, and it actually goes, the reason for her name actually fits the meaning. Because that's where she's gonna end up being. And her mom is...
I'm excited to read it.
Her mom's name is Ezra. Just so you know.
Ezra.
Yeah,
Okay.
just so you know how to pronounce it.
Gotcha. Cool.
Because it looks like...
I'm just gonna start texting you and be like, "Hey, send me a voice of your voice of this name."
I know I'll definitely have to do that when Siriana's Origin comes out because there's a lot of names that I created that everyone's just like, what the fuck? What was going through your mind? How high were you? It's high. How are you?
How high were you?
Well, that's like so. I'm writing a series right now, and the main characters are Lebanese, and their names are Lebanese, and so I know that I'm gonna have to probably have a pronunciation guide with how to phonetically say their names because people are probably going to butcher them even with the pronunciation guide. So I'm sure there's going to have to be
probably.
I know.
It's hard to read a name. To be fair,
yeah,
it's hard to read a name.
Yeah, I'm just
because like even simple names, like even my name, people read it and they get it wrong. I mean, it's like I hear Brianna all the time, and I'm like, that's not my name,
isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's Brianna. But like there are people that pronounce it Brianna. So like reading my name, if my name was in a book, I could understand why people did that.
That's
I mean,
okay.
it also
People call me Amber.
It's also a culture thing.
People call you Amber? What?
I wish I was joking.
Okay.
I mean,
okay.
It's not really hard to pronounce.
Dude.
People call me Neeks, like as in Sphinx.
Neeks. Get out of the way, Loki.
Yeah. That's also how I pronounced Nyx for the longest time was Neeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh. That's an interesting way to say it.
I learned out the hard way.
Yeah.
It's called Google the name and then do the little like microphone thing. Oh, that's how you say it.
Yeah.
I had to do that. That's also how I did it with Seoul, like in Korea, because I thought it was Seoul. And
Oh.
Yeah, I learned that out the hard way too, and no one in my life had corrected me. Nobody. So my parents, my friends were hearing me say while they were talking about something for Seoul, I was like, Seoul? And they never once.
That's mean. That's mean. See, but like there are okay, so y'all know that I do the mythology club at my school. And so this month we did Narcissus and Echo. And then we got done early. Yeah, the kids got to plant daffodils. It was really cute. But we got done early, so I was like, "Well, is there another story you guys want to learn about?" And so they asked if they could learn about Cerberus, and I was like, "Yeah, okay." So we learned about Cerberus, and then we talked about the labors of Heracles, and one of the labors being to take the belt of Hippolyta. And at least I think that was a Heracles labor. It was somebody's labor. Somebody had to take steal the belt of Hippolyta. But the video that we used pronounced it Hippolyta, and I was like, "What?"
The pronunciation of some of the videos, some of them were.
I can get if they had said Hippolyta.
Yeah.
Because that, I think, is actually one of the accepted ways to say it. I say Hippolyta. I think Hippolyta is also accepted, but they said Hippolyta. And I was like, what?
It like, the way that they say certain names,
Well, the way they said Cerberus was fucked up. They said Cerberus. I was like, who made this video?
Rhea has some thoughts too, if you can hear her sharing them.
Yeah, because she says that's wrong.
Yeah.
She's letting us know that Cerberus is speaking to her and saying, who the fuck fucked up my name?
She's very disappointed.
Yeah, because that's a weird... Everybody knows how to say Cerberus.
Yeah.
I was watching an educational video in high school because I was in an online class, and instead of Kilimanjaro, they pronounced it Kilimanjaro. I was like, I'm sorry. Say that
Have you watched the documentary that Benedict Cumberbatch... That's how you say his name, right?
Yes.
I think it's Cumberbatch, or I think he
Cumberbatch. It's Cumberbatch. I had to make sure because there are people that make jokes and call him Cumberbun. It's Benedict Cumberbatch. Anyway, he does a voiceover for a documentary about penguins, but he can't say the word penguin. It's hilarious. The whole fucking movie. Penwings.
I need to watch this now just because that man is so adorable.
He says the whole time, he says penwings. And nobody corrected him for the entire production of the movie. And so the documentary is just out there with him saying penwings the whole time.
I need to see this because he's so adorable. It's like my friend who's also British saying squirrel.
Squirrel.
I do find it really cute when because my friend Riggs, I love when she says certain things because she has a British accent, and she'll go on tangents and she'll just start yelling, and I'm like, please say all of that again. Like, I have voice notes and I'll listen to her go on her rants, and I lose it.
That's so funny.
Because she'll just go on her rants. And I'm like, what did you just say? I'm like, please say that again. I'm like, one more time. And she's like, Fada. Fuck off. You know what I said? And I was like, what did you say? And she's like, fuck off.
The way she also says cinnamon.
I love that.
Oh, the way she says cinnamon, though, is also very cute. I love this woman.
You guys have to, on your own time, you have to look up, and listeners too, look up the documentary where Benedict Cumberbatch does the voiceover. It's about penguins. Yeah. It's about penguins. I don't know the name of it. I just know the whole time he says penwings, and it's hilarious. It's very, very funny. By the way, it's a very cute documentary. You get to watch penguins. What's not adorable about that? But yeah, also the whole time he says it wrong, and it's so funny.
I'm surrounded by my pets. I don't know if y'all were noticing during bits and pieces of the podcast when my dog kept coming up and putting her face in here. My cat decided to there she is again.
Hello.
My cat decided to make an appearance.
Love that. My cat made an appearance too, so we're good. She decided.
Dingus is currently laying underneath the coffee table. Ragnar has decided he wants to have zoomies. I don't know where Rhea went, but she wanted me to toss her ball to her, and Ghost had zoomies and was running around. But none of them have come over here.
Thena and Freya are probably in the kitchen, if I had to guess. Loki's here on the bed.
Foxy is laying on the ground, begging for my pets, which I am petting her. And then Chloe ditched me, so she's sitting on.
We should probably get back on to what we were supposed to talk about. Shouldn't
we? Probably should. Well, I'm sorry.
Or at least something witchery, at least.
Well, I guess.
Oh, I was gonna, sorry. You go first.
There you go.
I was just gonna say, my book also is bringing in different pantheons. So I'm gonna have Norse and Syriana's story because she gets sent to Asgard,
Ooh.
and Freya is gonna make an appearance.
Freya is in my kitchen. She's small and brown, and she doesn't like men.
And Loki is also gonna make an appearance because we can't have a chaos god with we can't not have chaos. I'm just
There you go. Loki made an appearance. Loki made her appearance. Okay. I'm just messing with you. Your characters just happen to have the same names as my pets, so.
yeah. And I'm actually working. I actually messaged someone in my area community of pagans who works with Freya.
Ooh.
To try and get a more
Oh, you're gonna
accurate,
do some like research?
yeah, so I can get a more accurate representation of her. Because I don't
Good
really
job.
like inaccurate representations unless it's like purely fictional, I guess. But it still like don't change the entirety of the character and how they would act.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like you can change like bits and pieces, but characterization, like how they act and like and how they treat others, I would not change. And so I want that in the
That's
story.
fair. That's fair.
What? Is your brother hogging all
Well.
the toys?
This is my little mushroom friend.
I saw the mushroom friend throughout the video. Lassie, how did you get tangled up in my phone cord? How did you accomplish that?
So, I guess, because we're getting kind of close to the end.
Yeah.
Do we want to continue talking about Greek? Do we want to start talking about different pantheons? Or do we want to?
I would, you know what I would love, and we got to ask him if he wants to, but I'm sure he would. I would love to get Kyle on here.
Yes.
We should see because Kyle works with Athena, and I work with her, but she goes by her Roman name with me, Minerva. So I would love to get him on here. Maybe we can have a small segment about that. And then maybe we can see, because right now we are a panel of women and we're talking about our practice from a womanly perspective. Maybe we could talk about the practice from a more masculine perspective.
I would love to do that. And then I've got my friend Chucky who also practices, and I would love to, he doesn't practice Greek, but I would love to get him on here and maybe talk about doing tarot and practicing in that aspect. So maybe we can have...
okay. So let's reach out to them, and so we're hoping for the audience. We're hoping that our next episode will have a special guest, and then depending on who our special guest is, we'll be able to give you guys a new look at the practice.
I can also see if my friend who practices who's Wiccan, if she'd be willing to join.
Yeah, so we want to make sure though that we don't let's off camera we can discuss. Yeah. But yeah, so be looking out in 2 weeks. Our hope is to have a special guest. As of right now, that special guest is a surprise. We don't know which one, but that's the goal. All right. Any last words?
Only pineapples.
Oh, I don't know.
What about
pineapples? That's my last.
Yeah,
pineapples. There we go. Last word is pineapples. That's my safe word, y'all. All right. We love you guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Hopefully we are all here and nobody dies in the meantime. But if we do, at least you know we are being taken care of by Hades and Persephone. Good night, y'all.